The state of Texas, football hotbed, right? Oh, great high school football, blah, blah, blah. All that's true, so I don't say blah in a derogatory manner. I just mean, what has it really mattered as of late? University of Texas has not played for a conference title since 2009. Texas A&M, you understand what happened there last year, and so there have been mixed results on the grandest of stages out there, and therefore, I feel the need to tell you tonight, long before anyone else does, that there's a chance we're on the brink of something, I think, in the state of Texas. And I'm talking about University of, and I'm talking about Texas A&M, TCU, Texas Tech, Baylor, Houston, as of 5 minutes ago, is now a Power 5 institution. But I also want to throw Rhett Lashlee and SMU in here as well. If you just looked at the programs, you can talk about trajectory, you can talk about recent results, but I'm talking about here and now, moving forward. Would the light not be blinking green on every single one of these? And by blinking green, I don't mean every one of them is playoff bound this year, far from it. What I do mean is you take where they are now and take where they were 3 or 4 years ago, and then take where you think they could be 3 or 4 years from now, and over that 3 or 4 year span. Don't we feel a lot better about the future of Texas? I say we. I know I do. So you can either agree with me or not. Texas A&M, here's the bottom line, guys. Here's the long and short of it. Either they're going to get it done this year, or they'll go find someone who can get it done. There are a lot of folks in the advanced analytical market who would tell you everything else is in place to win at Texas A&M, and if they don't get it done, it is a glaring failure in reflection on the head coach there, and it would kind of be like the old grab claw machine. Colin, when I first got here, every single night, we would metaphorically use the grab claw machine, and we would put our quarter in, and we would take the claw, and it would pick up something, and it would drop it. And what if I dropped a top 7 head coach at Texas A&M and kept everything else the same? So one of two ways we're going to get some action there this year. I've got Dave Aranda down at Baylor, who has tied in his first 3 seasons at Baylor for the most wins in the history of the program. Sonny Dykes at Texas Tech, we've spoken a lot about. I'm about to again. TCU literally just played for a national championship. Houston's finally in the P5 ranks. And so there's a lot going on down there. But also talent acquisition, which is the name of the game, is something everyone's doing well. It's not just a Texas thing. It's not an A&M thing. Listen to this stat. Courtesy of producer Jesse, outside of Texas A&M, who all they did was have the top-rated class of all time 2 cycles ago. So outside of A&M, Texas, Texas Tech, TCU, Baylor, Houston, they all had the best recruiting ranking of their last 5 years this past cycle. Every one of them is trending up in talent acquisition. Several staffs are getting after it out there. And there's a unique sort of complexion when you go staff to staff. It's not all cookie cutter. And it never should be in the state of Texas, but it's not all cookie cutter out there. All these teams, the ones I just mentioned, they've all also won 8 games at least once in the past 2 years. I think 3 of them have put up double-digit win seasons. Of course, you know about what TCU just did. There are reasons for this that are just starting to take root. There are reasons for this that I think will extend far and wide. I don't think that you've seen the waves really hit the shore yet. I think you've seen the earthquake. I think you've seen the early signs of the ripple effect and the waves, and I don't want to go as far as to say tsunami, given what happened off the coast of Alaska this morning, but again, metaphorically speaking, you get what I mean by that. NIL is a huge deal in Texas. This is a state, more so than any other state out there, that prides itself on its resources and the money those resources produce. And again, that's not just a Texas and Texas A&M thing. Portal has been particularly huge here for the same reason it could be and will be eventually in the state of Florida. A lot of kids come from Texas. Not all of them stay in state. And any given cycle, you're inevitably going to have a crop of kids that went far and wide that get homesick. You're going to have a crop of kids far and wide that had 4 or 5 stars next to their name that for whatever reason don't see it work out at their initial place of commitment. What do they revert to? If you're from Houston, if you're from Dallas or Miami or Los Angeles, and you go off to Alabama or you go off to Ohio State or Michigan or Penn State, and it doesn't work out, what might you revert to? You might revert to, let me get closer to home because the things my second go-around that matter now probably are different than what mattered my first go-around. It's like a magnet effect. The portal, when it comes to talent-rich states, Texas being one of them, has a magnet effect. And so you're always going to see schools even like SMU. Rhett Lashlee and those guys have had 3 consecutive top 20 portal classes. Did you know that? Maybe not. Maybe you're not following the G5 portal ranks, but don't worry. That's what we pay Bradley the associate to just sit in there and stare at a computer screen and look for all day. There's also unique energy with a lot of these staffs in Texas. Everyone talks about Steve Sarkisian. Everyone's talking about Jimbo Fisher and the move they just made at offensive coordinator to hopefully rectify the situation out there. Texas Tech with Joey McGuire is like a high school staff with 3 injections of steroids that just make them a college staff. It's wonderful. It's a great, unique energy. It's so unique to Lubbock. It is like a guy who was raised in the topsoil out there, and it's so uniquely what Texas Tech's about. And also, they've had 3 straight seasons where they've improved record-wise. So, you're starting to see results be delivered out there as well. I think also, if you look at Baylor, as I said about Dave Aranda, it's so weird because people get a warped idea of how we should be talking about certain programs, and it's 5-minute memory in a lot of cases, so people don't even remember, for example, the guy won the Big 12 2 years ago. You heard me right. Baylor won the Big 12 championship 2 years ago. No one really thinks about that right now because you have 6 and 7 fresh in your mind, and 6 and 7 is a disappointment, right? Right, Josh, yeah, because all the preview magazine seasons said that they should win 9 games. That's just automatically what you should do once you win a conference title. That's not true at Baylor. Even with the 6 and 7 baked in last year, Dave Aranda, 3 seasons in, is tied for the best 3-year start in program history, and we had to go back to the 20s to find where we had to go to see who he was tied with. And also, we love Aranda on this show because he's far more cerebral than your average coach. He's blunt. He's honest to a fault. Some people around him believe honest to a fault. I have told you the story many times, but since Dennis is here, I'll tell it at least one more time. We were out there 2 years ago for the Oklahoma game, and we got to talk with him a little bit after the game. He's sitting there saying, yeah, we just pulled this upset, and that's wonderful and all that. But I am disappointed that it took us losing last week. They just lost to TCU. And he said, the reality is we got a performance today that was probably inspired by last week, and that's on me. They should play this way every week. Why should it take an external factor like a loss? Well, I love that stuff, and so I love Dave Aranda, and he's doing really good things there. Houston, this is generic. Whether it's Dana Holgorsen 5 years from now leading the charge there or not, Houston is now a Power 5 school. Houston and Central Florida have been sitting in that sort of catbird seat at the G5 level for a long time. Major cities parked right in the middle of Orlando and Houston, respectively, and now Houston gets promoted to the Big 12, and not only are they getting promoted to the Big 12, you're going to have a serious power vacuum that forms the minute Texas and OU hit the exit door after this upcoming season. Who fills it? Maybe Houston. I don't know. At the very least, it's reason to buy stock in Houston. TCU, I don't really need to sell you much on the prospects of a team that just played for a national championship, but that was Sonny Dykes' first year. And all he had to do was drive across town to take his new job. There's a lot about the way college football is shaped right now that is conducive to the state of Texas blowing up. It's nice to be able to use the letters SWC on the program. A lot of our audience was not around, myself included, when the Southwest Conference was in its heyday. But boy, we've seen the documentaries. And I own a Southwest Conference t-shirt, and proud to say I do. And I know that we cannot see the resurrection of the Southwest Conference. And certainly the regionality aspect of college football has been ripped to shreds. But what you can see in the state of Texas, even if certain teams are in this conference and other teams are in that conference, is you really can see a unique Texas culture sort of start to bleed through, whether it's TCU or Texas, whether it's Baylor or Houston. You can start to see that bleed through. Ironically, these are former member institutions in most cases of the aforementioned Southwest Conference. I'm excited about this, but as well as I do, it all circles back around to 2 names this year. It all circles back around to Steve Sarkisian and what they do at Texas as the preseason Big 12 championship favorite again, the favorite to win a game they haven't appeared in, I kid you not, since 2009. And it circles back around to their neighbors in College Station. It circles back around to Jimbo Fisher because really, if Texas wins 7 games this year and Jimbo fails to make a bowl game or they're barely teetering on bowl eligibility, there's probably not a lot of attention on the rest of the state. That's not fair, but it's not a fairy tale world. College football, not a fairy tale world. It could be, though, if they come through and then all of a sudden downstream of your Texases and Texas A&Ms, you got a lot of other schools that are more than carrying their weight, which is already happening. It just gets exclamated and magnified or maybe even amplified, if that's the case at the top of the ladder.